So, usually I sit down and I sit crisscross applesauce and I read us a story in a different room in my house. However, it is storming here and thundering, and my doggies hate thunder. They bark. And so I'm going to try to stay in here, and they're laying under my table under my feet. So I think that'll kind of make them less scared, because sometimes storms can be scary for doggies. So today I figured we would read about the rain, and I'm going to read a nonfiction real story. These are true facts. It's real, and it's called Once There Was a Raindrop. So it's about rain and storms. Our author and illustrator is Judith Anderson and Mike Gordon. So 2 people wrote and drew the pictures. They worked together like a team. Once there was a raindrop. It's raining. Rain is made up of lots of tiny drops of water. You're right. Water. So it's currently raining, kind of like it is right now. My teacher says each raindrop is part of a water cycle. What is a water cycle? We're going to find out right now. So we're going to read about the water cycle. When a raindrop falls to the ground, it sinks into our earth. We live on planet Earth, so the water falls down from the sky and it makes our ground wet and muddy. Or it stays on the surface, so it stays up above the ground and makes puddles. So the rain falls from the sky and goes down into the ground or makes puddles. Can't get the page turned. The water flows into our drains and our streams, or it drips underground. So it could fall into our stream. So if your road has a little hole, like a little gate, it could fall in there, or it goes deep into the ground. The drainage streams will flow into lakes and our oceans. So sometimes the water leads to our oceans, and of course the rain falls in our oceans. But that's not the end of the story. The sun warms the surface of the ocean. So when the sun is shining, it makes the water warmer. Like in our pools, the warm water turns into water vapor, and it rises into the air. So it warms it up, and there's drops that rise up with it. And this is called a big word. Are you ready? Evaporation. Say that out loud. Evaporation. You can't see it. You can't see this when it rises, but it's all around us. It's in our air. So the sun warms up the water, and the water will rise. You can't see it, and it's called evaporation. Makes our water warm. That's how, when we hang our wet clothes outside, they get dry. And that's where the water in the bird bath has gone. So when we put our clothes outside, or maybe after you swim, you put your towels, and it dries, it's the water vapor rising. And then sometimes when the water disappears and dries out, like in a little puddle or pond, the water vapor rises high into the sky. As it gets higher, it cools down, it gets colder. The air turns into the water vapor back into the droplets of water. So it gets higher and higher and colder, and it turns back into the water droplets that are in our clouds for rain. And the same thing happens to water vapor in your breath on a cold day. So when it's really cold and you breathe and you guys can see our breath, that's from that. When the droplets of water get bigger and heavier, so every time it keeps rising, it's getting in those clouds and collecting, and it gets bigger and heavier. And when it becomes too heavy to stay in the clouds, what do you think happens? It falls into rain. It goes back into our rain. If the air is really cold, the droplets freeze and they fall as snowflakes. Good job. Or it could be hail. Sometimes too much rain falls. Sometimes we have way too much and it could flood. But sometimes there's not enough rain. Sometimes there's not enough. That's called a drought. It's sometimes the rain is just right. Because what does the rain make sometimes? A beautiful rainbow. Every drop of water on our planet is recycled over and over again. That's why it's called the water cycle. So it goes over and over again, kind of like when we talked about apples and we plant them and it starts over and over and over again. That is our water cycle. So it keeps going and going. We're going to talk about that too. And that's the end of our story. So we're going to look at our water cycle. So it starts in the clouds, then it goes into our raindrops. It gets too heavy up here. It gets too heavy, so it falls. So here's the raindrops falling, and it falls onto our oceans or our land. Then it gets warmer, and it rises back up into the clouds. But does it stop? No, it starts back over. It might be a little bit slower sometimes, because like today it's raining, it hasn't rained in a couple days. But sometimes it just keeps raining and raining and raining. So it's all different, and we always have a life cycle. Okay, have a good day.